Hello and happy Sunday. Welcome back to the UpSet podcast. Tonight, we are talking about saving when you only have just a little. Coming up next. Hey, welcome back to the UpSet podcast. We're so happy that you have tuned in this Sunday evening. And when I say weird, it means that I'm with some people, but lately it's kind of like, who is going to be there today? And let's see who's with us. It's these people. Hey, guys.
Happy Sunday.
There are always some faithful people here.
She said these people. I'm like, she used to say my favorite. She used to say my favorite.
Yeah,
it's like these people.
Yeah. No, I still clicked the wrong opening again. But anyway.
We're now a Yahtzee team. You just throw, pick it up, throw it out.
Yahtzee. Marlena, you telling your age when you talking about Yahtzee.
Oh, yeah.
I'm with you,
Right,
though.
they don't even sell that anymore, do they? Oh.
I don't even know when last I saw the Yahtzee game.
At this point, yeah. Classic. So, guys, how was everyone's week?
Pretty good.
Not too bad.
It's been pretty productive.
It seemed a little long for me.
Long?
It seemed a little long.
It was a little weird for me. I don't know how to really describe it. But yeah,
but not.
It felt
Maybe it's because of O.J. Simpson or something.
Man, must be.
rest in peace, but I don't think it had anything to do with that. But yeah.
Man, people are not trying to let that man rest in peace. They have him turning over.
Yeah.
He's on trial all over again with his death, right?
His body wasn't even cold yet, and they put
Going in
OJ in all sorts of places. Yeah, it's bad.
It all came out fresh, like it just
happened.
Like even the announcement photos they're using are of him in the courtroom with the yellow with
the Bronco. Yeah.
It's like, really?
It's like this guy was a successful NFL player.
Yeah.
Get that. Who remembers that, right?
Not even part of his life.
Now, if it doesn't fit,
Right? Must have quit. That was quite the trial, though.
yeah, it was.
It was.
What's interesting is there's a whole generation of kids that were detached from that.
Oh, yeah.
So they're all discovering
Right.
his significance
Right.
in American pop culture in these last couple of days. So that's been interesting.
So expect to see the Ford stock go up
For the
exponentially as people are clamoring for the nearest Broncos for sale.
Wow. Well,
Both
I can
new
tell
and
you,
old.
my son said, man, they acting like dude is guilty. I was like, this is before your time, but he probably was.
He just had the best lawyer.
Netflix is going to have some special coming out next week, revisiting the case. It's anytime something happens in the news, there's some special that comes back out. But yeah.
Right.
People were remembering where they were at the time. I
remember.
I was in undergrad school. I remember college, and we were all, glued to the TV and the students.
And the black people were happy, and the others were mad.
Yeah, it was quite the trial of the century. But some unfortunate news we saw in Philadelphia this week with that that shooting. And Tally was telling us it was not far from West Church. I think he said it was a few blocks from our church in West Philadelphia.
Wow. They said it was a bunch of teens too. A bunch of teens doing it.
Yeah. And this was the close of Ramadan. That celebration. And, a lot of people were out there. I think they said it was about 1,000 people gathered out there for the celebration.
And that's what makes me mad, Tosh. And I hate to get political, but, we're so hard on women and the crazy things they're doing with women and abortions now. But you say one suggestion about removing some of these guns off the streets, and they go wacko, right? It's not the guns, it's the people. And these guns are getting into the hands of children who, don't know what to do, and they're just shooting people, and it's terrible. So we're not really pro-life, we're just pro-politics. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Pro-money.
Pro-money, yeah.
Pro-money and pro-power. Yeah, pro-money, pro-power.
Got it.
Yeah, and also the eclipse. How many of you did you guys see the eclipse?
Oh yeah.
You saw it, Miguel?
Oh
You had your
yeah.
glasses on?
I saw it on the TV. I looked up one time and I thought something happened in my eye real quick.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was going to do it, but yeah.
It's the memes for me.
But I saw a photo that National Geographic posted. It was so amazing. I thought it was an AI graphic.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
It's
version I
really
saw on TV was amazing. I was just praising God. I was like, look at God. Oh my goodness.
I think the Android made it to beat the iPhone on this one. We were able to take it with the Android, and so I didn't answer any of my phone calls when it came to the iPhone getting beat. But what I know it's corny, but I like that the little memes that were like everybody's looking up, and there's a guy named Johnny Willis that put up, I should have blew a trumpet so that everybody was thought Jesus was coming.
I know. I was like, you think that's amazing? Wait till he really comes. Right?
Yep.
Right. But yeah, that was a cool experience. We were out there with Pine Forge Academy students. We had our little glasses out there, and I did think it was going to be a little more dramatic than what it was. Like I thought it was going to get dark, but I realized that we weren't really in the area where
right.
100%. But it was really cool to see it could gradually just cover the sun. It was amazing. But
could you see a good amount of it, Taj? Could you see
from the time it was in the corner? And I mean, granted, we were out there for about an hour and a half to watch it gradually make the change, but it was pretty good. The clouds kind of got in the way after.
I was about to say that it got cloudy so quick I couldn't even see. And what time did it actually cross? Because I was about 3.
It was about 2:30 when we really start to see some movement. But around closer to 4 is when it was done. Like the 90%, you just saw that little sliver left. But it was really cool. It was cooler than I thought. And hey, it's 20 years until the next one. So
I know.
Yeah, it looks right there.
That's neat.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we
Megs. Some of us feel like
Pat was doing the math just now.
you saw me, Megs. I was like, ooh.
You'll still be young, buddy. You'll still be young.
Yeah, you won't be that old. Not that old. All right, guys. So we are continuing with our Financial Literacy Month discussions. We feel like this is definitely an important topic for us to tackle, as we would love to see our communities do better in this area. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about, well, Pat, how about you tell us what we're talking about?
I don't know why I chose this one, because sometimes it could be a little bit challenging, but I just want to welcome everyone to the discussion that we're having, more like living on a budget and some of the challenges that we go through, because the kind of world that we're living in now, where we're just engrossed in consumerism, and it tempts us to spend more beyond our means, where we should be embracing something like a budget where we could do more, or basically have the financial stability. And I like the word freedom, financial stability and freedom. And sometimes we look at it as being deprived, but more it's about being intentional with our money. I'm learning through this even right now. So whether or not those of you who are listening, or you're a recent graduate or a seasoned professional, or even someone in retirement, budgeting and knowing what we're doing with our money has so many different benefits that extend beyond the simply just balancing our books, or balancing our checkbook. Yeah, I said checkbook, so that's I'm telling my age. So throughout this discussion that we're going to have today, I want us to kind of like look at some of the reasons why living on a budget or being careful is advisable, and are also essential as far as our goals are concerned. So gaining sometimes control. The way I'd like to look at it is that the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. I hope we're not going to use that as a text today, but but that's where we are. And just rather quickly, I was thinking about for example, a refrigerator that I wanted. I have a fridge already, and it cools the. It
It does
cools
its
it.
functions.
And Mix is going to get at me for this one. And I've always passed by when I go to Home Depot and look at it. But because it has the iPad in it
Oh my goodness.
and the camera, and the camera that tells you the what
Gives you
food is
weather.
inside,
Oh, this guy.
like I go grocery shopping, and the to-do list, I always wanted it. And even though I got it on a really great deal, the question is, did I really need it? You know what I mean? And those are some of the things that look at Latasha. No, look at
Well,
her.
look,
No.
if you're living within your means, Pat, it's okay, right?
I didn't. We're not talking about that right now. We're gonna call it. We're gonna call in the expert right now. I brought a friend along with me. We call him Elder Andy at work. At work. At church we call him Elder Andy. I said at work. I had the opportunity of being with them with the Glenridge Church. I think in 2019, I spent 7 months with them, and God has blessed me to be the pastor of the church again, even back then. Let me just introduce him really quick. He's, I just learned just yesterday and having another conversation with him that he's a theology major, that he graduated with a theology major. I was asking, the first thing I said, where did you get your accounting degree from? I don't go that way. It's a hobby for him to be financially stable. Because we had some difficulties at church before. We won't get into that with finances. They put him on the case. And as soon as that happened, he has mimicked his household the way to the church. And our church is doing great for a small church, doing probably greater than some of our other churches. Yes, I'm in brag mode of our church. And what we're trying to do now is to get every member to get their household together. Everybody, I want to introduce to you. We call his Elder Anderson, but we call him Elder Andy at church. And I'm sorry to bring him to us now because we're going to be thinking of what we cannot buy and what we should be saving. Elder Andy, I want to introduce you to the crew, Tasha, Marlena.
Hi, Elder
Mig,
Andy. Nice
and
to have you,
Kiki.
sir.
But more than that, I want to
Thank you.
introduce you
Thank
to
you.
our podcast family that's listening right now. Elder Andy, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, and thank you all for allowing me to join this conversation. I think it's a very important conversation that we should all be having.
It's true. It's true. I think one of the first questions I'd like to jump in, I started off by saying that the spirit is willing, and it is. The spirit is willing. We want to do well when it financially. What are some of the challenges that we face? What's wrong with that guy, Pat Graham? What's wrong with that person who's on that's saying, hey, why can I move forward with financial stability? What are some of the challenges?
Yeah, I know there's some real problems that relate to that, but I think one of the problems is discipline. We are not disciplined enough to be able to carry on.
All right, guys, I got to go. We'll talk later.
Call them out. You went down his street.
Many of us don't act our wage. So we try to keep up with the Joneses, which is difficult. And so we don't have a budget. And maybe to put it this way, African Americans are disproportionately disadvantaged post-slavery because we have been underserved by the financial institution, and so they don't have a lot of confidence in the institution. And it is reflected in some of the statistics that we see because Federal Insurance Corporation did put out a report, and 20% of African Americans still don't have a bank account when compared to the rest of the country is 8%, but within the African American community, 8%. That's a large point, a fifth of the number of the people that are there. So we have to get to the point where we recognize that we're not owners of anything. God is the true owner. God has given us resources to manage. So we have to manage we are managing what we have for the owner, which is God. And when we
Mhm.
look at it in that light, then God cannot give us more if we're not managing what we have effectively.
Mm.
And so God really wants to bless us, but he's unable to bless us because we are not using what he has given to us wisely. So one of the things that we need to do is to be able to learn to make adjustment. In sports, they will say the team that is able to make adjustment generally wins.
Mm.
So we continue to do the same thing over and over and expect to get a different result, and it's not going to happen. So we have to look at what we have, recognize that, put our wages on paper, uh, make a list of our needs, and then we outline exactly what we're going to spend. And included in that amount that we have, there should be a portion of that saved. We should be able to save something from every paycheck. That should be a part of our monthly budget.
So,
So,
Elder
which
Andy,
means that,
I
yes.
just want to interject you right there because I feel like that's where a lot of us go wrong with making saving as a part of our budget. A lot of times we say, oh, once all the bills are paid, once I get my groceries, then I'll save whatever's left. And oftentimes after we've done all those things, there is nothing left. And so that's our excuse or our reason for not saving. But what I think I'm hearing you say is savings should actually probably be a line item, just like any other bill in our budget. Is that what you're saying?
That is correct. That is correct. Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Non-negotiable. Yeah. Okay.
So
Yeah,
how
we
much
have
a percentage should we be saving? Like, is there a percentage goal, or like how would you work that?
goal, ideally probably 20%. That's ideally, but anywhere between 10 and 20%, we should try.
It's like yours, Pat.
Well, the show is now over. 20%.
Ideally.
Wow.
So, Elder Andy,
So-
this show is about people who make little money. So your money is little.
Yeah.
How can, because
Yeah.
some people will say, I can't even survive, so how can I save?
Yeah, and they may have a good point that they're making such a small amount. But one of the things, it may, because one of our largest item on our budget would be our housing, because that is a large percent. And maybe what some people need to do is, as I said, make an adjustment. You may need a roommate. And nothing is wrong with having a roommate. In Jamaica, there's a saying we would say you have to learn to stand crooked and cut, which means that you have to use the difficult time and try to work things out. This is not a permanent situation, but you're going to make some adjustment for a period of time that will allow you to get into a better situation. So you may need to have a roommate for a period of time, which will allow you to save something where you could move on to a better situation. So the key is there, being able to make adjustment, looking at where you are, looking at what ways in which you could do. So even if you're making a small amount, and look at all your needs. Are there areas where you could cut back just a little and to be able to do a little more? And that's what you have to look at. So because you have to be intentional about what you want to do. And even with a small amount of money, figuring exactly how can I save. If you make it a priority, I think you still will be able to save something.
Yeah. Uncle Andy, you said a lot of things coming out the gate. And I think someone missed it. You said, act your wage.
Yeah, man.
Act your wage. So the problem is you don't have enough money, but you're not managing what you have. And so there are folks whose salary is 30,000 and whose salary is $1 million, but they're broke because they're not acting their wage. So that's so critical to have that awareness and willingness to act your wage.
Mm-hmm. Now, I think we were talking about, some people say, I can't afford to save.
Yeah.
And I've heard the expression, you can't afford not to save, because when you don't save, you find yourself getting in deeper debt. And I know, Elder Anderson and Elder Andy, that you followed Dave Ramsey's plan for financial peace. Can you tell us about why you all decided to be a part of that and how it helped you and your family?
Okay.
There you are. Okay.
So I missed that part of the question
Oh no, I
because
was
of
asking.
I think my internet connection.
Okay, no problem. I'll restate it. I was asking you about your experience with Dave Ramsey and the Financial Peace University and why your family decided to go through that process and what was it like for you guys?
Yeah, we really had to make a lot of sacrifice and adjustment because once we started the class, we realized that wow, this is something that in fact my wife said this is something that her grandmother used to talk to her way about because I grew up in a family where we had very little or nothing. But my parents were always faithful to the Lord, and
Mm,
uh, you try to live within your means. You don't look at what other people have, and so when I saw the program, I said, "Wow, this is great!" Because what got me, what caught me in terms of what he said one thing is that just think about what we could do for God's kingdom
mm,
if our resources were not tied up into debt.
Yeah.
mm,
And I said, that's so real.
mm,
Some churches are struggling to do ministry because there's not enough resource there, because
mm,
people are not able to support the church because every time the money comes in, it goes out.
mhm,
And the idea of God is secondary because they're so burdened with debt. They're not even making an effort to give to the Lord. So we did make a sacrifice for that. I had two jobs. My wife had
mm,
a second job, and we started plowing away at this stuff. And I tell you, when we got to the point where we paid the last debt off, it was like you lift the weight off of us.
mhm,
Wow.
It felt so good. It felt so good. The last date, I know if I ask my wife, she will tell you the exact date when we paid the mortgage off. She give me the exact,
Wow.
she has it down to the hour.
Wow.
Exactly the time when we wrote the check and paid the last mortgage off. And it feels good. It feels good that when the money comes in, we decide exactly what we want to do, not the debt person knocking at our door, for something like that. And so it was a challenge, but we looked at the end point.
Mm,
We know we're doing this for a good reason. And to obtain the freedom that is needed, it was great. And I wish all of the members of the church was like that. We introduced the program to the church. We had a few classes and a few people got on board, but we would like more people to get on board because as the treasurer of the church also, we made sure that the Glenridge Church was debt free.
yeah.
Glenridge was able to pay off all their debt because they had a mortgage,
Mm,
and we were able to pay that mortgage off and
wow.
started saving for building for the future. So that
Amen.
experience was helpful for me and my family to be able to experience what we experience.
Right.
And
Amazing.
Elder Andy, I did my previous church. I did Financial Peace University too, and I know that we needed it. Do you know, sir, was only maybe 6 to 10 people who participated in the program.
Mm,
Only about 6 to 10, and they were all broke. It was more broke people than
Yeah.
that. But they didn't. What prevents us as a people from wanting to do better financially?
mm,
Question.
Yeah, and it's a challenge because we had a similar problem too, in the sense that we did not get as many people as we wanted. We even had people from the community who some of our members didn't. I think they want to. Some people are scared. They don't want people to know the situation that they're in,
mm,
and so they don't want to become a part of it. But deep down, I think they really want to do financially better. but they're just not willing to take that step. And I believe that with some encouragement and with people who have been on that journey before, talking about it will encourage others to be able to want to join and to experience what it is like to be debt free.
Right. And I think a lot of people are fearful of what they're going to have to give up. I mean, when you start talking about budget, a lot of people see that as being restrictive.
Right.
When actually, like they said, it's giving every money has a job. You're telling your money what to do, and you can allow yourself to do more of what you want to do instead of just always paying bills. Now, I wanted to bring up something you mentioned, Elder Andy, about how you and your wife were able to become debt free, so you could save, and that was you both had 2 jobs, so you were putting in the work. So a lot of people who say, I don't have a lot. What I'm hearing you say is we knew we had a goal in order to accomplish it. That meant we need to produce more income.
Hustle? You mean a hustle?
Yeah.
As long as the hustle isn't drug selling, that's selling.
I don't know. He was flying back and forth from Jamaica. Here's the question. This is not the length of time. Sometimes we think, and of course it has something to do with whatever your debt is. But I mean, was there ever a time that you said, listen, I can't do this anymore? Or you had some challenges to say, okay, this is not fun. I mean, did you, or better yet, how did you keep the goal in mind? How did you press towards the mark without falling off?
Yeah, because we looked at the end point. That was what motivated us. I was in sports in school, and I used to run the long distance, long distance, and so I know what it takes to work your way until you get to the goal. And so we always look at the end point. Currently, I'm working in research, and one of the things we always focus on what is the end point of this study. And so we were focused on what's our goal is that we'll get to the end. And so every time, Dave Ramsey has us say, you start with the smallest debt, and when you pay that debt off, you move the balance to the next debt. And so every time we pay the debt off, it's like a win for you. And then we move to the next debt. So the goal was to eventually get to where we become totally debt free. And so the motivating factor was just looking at the result, what it is going to be like once we get to that point. And that was what prodded us along, pushed us along to continue in spite of the challenges that we were facing.
Were there, just a continuation of Pat's question, were there any small things like visual aids that you used, like did you write on your walls or something like that kind of keep you like, keep the momentum going, keep the reminder going? Also with that, what are some lifestyle changes that you had to make? What are some no's that you had to give to certain people who called, we need to do X, Y, and Z? What were some of those sacrifices that you guys had to make in the interim along with that?
Yeah, although we don't eat out a lot, then we stop going out to eat on maybe once a year or so. We didn't go on a vacation for a period of time.
Okay, he said didn't go on vacation. Okay,
that's what I heard.
So unless your vacation is paid off, then we'll be able to make a decision as to where we want to go, because we'd have the money to do it. And so we made those sacrifices, delaying vacation, not going out to eat. We didn't go to the store. We stopped going, except for the food store. We use an envelope system that Dave recommended, where we put that money in that envelope. Once that money was done, then that was it. We could not go to the store anymore. And so the focus was more on the basic need: food, shelter, and transportation. Everything else was secondary. And we delayed those things until we were able to pay off our debt.
I love that. So we talked about having the goal in mind being, the motivating factor for you guys. I think a lot of times some of us don't know what to dream for. We don't know how to set goals for ourselves. So in terms of savings,
Mm.
what are some reasons why it's important to save, or what are some things we should be saving for? If I can be.
Yeah, saving is important. You save for the future. If I may go to this the scripture, the wise man Solomon in the book of Proverbs 21 verse 20 says, and from the Living Bible it says that the wise man save for the future, but the foolish man spends whatever he gets.
Mm.
So we
Mm.
could go back to a scripture that
Yep.
and say that really, as a Christians, we should be saving for the future because we don't know what the future holds. So we should be prepared because if there's an emergency, how do you handle that emergency?
Mm.
Or we would
I mean,
default to going to a credit card because the system allows us to go into debt to cover things. But if we are intentional and prepared, if we put money aside on a regular basis, then we would have money to use in those times of need. So saving for the future is important because when you save for the future, you're also preparing your family. You will be able to leave a legacy for your family. And even our church could get benefited from a portion of that also for ministry. So when you think in terms of all of those areas, then you recognize the importance of saving. And I think with proper education in our community, we could get people on board where they could visualize and see the importance. I was reading the other day that there was this question about what if someone was going to give you $1 million,
mm,
or they would give you a penny and double that penny every day for 30 days. Which one would you take? So I gave the question to my wife, and she said, "Oh, I'll take the $10 million. I'll take the $1 million." So, so I said to her, "Do you know that if you took the $1 million after 30 days, the person who got that penny would eventually have 10 times more than you have after 30
Wow.
days because
Wow.
wow.
because of the how the money multiplies over a period of over 30 days. That penny doubling every day for 30 days, you will end up with 10 point something $1 million.
Mm.
It's the
Wow.
same way that people have planned if they start saving early, just a little over time, that small amount that you put aside in an investment account, that money will grow and you'll be surprised to see how much money you have over a period of time. You just have to
Mm,
take the step and see, watch it grow.
absolutely.
So
You know,
you've mentioned the savings. You mentioned the percentage for the savings. Of course, as Christians, we know the tithing, 10 to 15%. Some people might go beyond. Now, you've mentioned investing. Um, should
Yeah.
our savings be included with our investment, or is there a separate allotment for investing, and how much should we set aside for investing?
It could be both. You could have generally the recommendation you should save probably invest 15% of your income towards in an investment account. You should also have an emergency fund, which would be
Mhm,
3 to 6 months of your monthly expenses. And that some people say more, some people say up to a year. I was
mhm,
listening to Susan Orman, and she wanted to go even longer than that. But
mm,
for the average person, 3 to 6 months or maybe a year would be good enough because that gives you some wiggle room in case of something happens. But for the investment portion of it, yeah, the total would be 20%, up to 20%. But if you're not in a position or if you're in debt, you're not going to be able to do that. So this is when once you've gotten rid of all of your debt, then you could save up to 20% of your income, 15% in a mutual fund or some other kind of investment, and the balance you could use in in a money market account where you could have access to that just in case of an emergency, or you could keep it in your local bank account, savings account.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Andy, I want to ask because this was very important to me. I know a lot of people who are struggling, just paycheck to paycheck. Out of all that you are saying, some people may say, this show is no good for me. I can't even do the basics, right? Can you share with them the importance of whatever they get, budgeting, putting something to the side so that whatever they have will grow? Because some people, groceries are more these days with the crooked companies, hiking up the prices. So food, you get minimal food for more money. Can you share with the people so that they can feel that there's a takeaway that they can actually do?
Yeah, and you're right. There are many people, their income is low, and it is be a challenge for them. But it is okay to get help if you could get help. There are a lot of organizations for people who are in low income here where they could benefit from basics like food to sort of supplement what they get in terms of food, which would give them some wiggle room to put aside some money on a monthly basis or from each paycheck regularly. So regardless of our income level, I think there is still opportunity for you to put something aside by looking outside of yourself and look to areas where people could help. Supplement your food bill by providing you with something which will, so that you don't have to actually spend the money on buying additional stuff. And that could be helpful for people like that in those situations.
Yeah, that's great. And
Yeah,
I
that's
think
a good
another
answer.
point, Elder Andy, with that is when you do save in one area, actually save what you're saving. So if you don't have to buy groceries this week because you were able to go to the pantry, the money you would have spent on groceries, put that aside to savings. Don't spend it on something else. I think sometimes instead of saving what we're saving, we actually spend what we should be saving.
Right.
Yeah.
And I
And
think that's the biggest challenge.
I'm sorry, sir. I was about to say, for people, every time they don't take the time to cook and they just stop and get Happy Meals for the kids or, something like that, that's very costly.
Yeah. Fast food is so expensive these days too. That's not
It's okay. It's okay to bring your lunch to work.
Yeah.
It's okay to bring your lunch. If more people would bring their lunch, when you look at the cost of lunch extrapolate that over a year, how much money you could have saved if you take a portion of what you cook or prepare at home and bring it for your lunch, then you could be saving something in those cases.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Love it. All right. Well, before we carry on with the rest of this conversation, we are going to take a short commercial break, and we'll be back to share more strategies for how people can save. Please check out our communication conference. And we're back.
Yeah, you caught me in a daydream right here. I was kind of like, wow, what
can I do?
What am I going to do? Put away. And you know what? I do save money, but I save money for something. I'd like to save money just to save money, just to let it sit there, just because. And I know we're coming down to a close, but I wanted to ask you this before you really quickly talk about strategies strategies. Is your daughter? Did she take on some of your? Because I'm thinking about my kids, right? And if they take on the same how we say financial type literacy that you took on, do you think she has that same thing, or did she take anything from you?
No, actually, she's the opposite. She's the opposite of us. It's really amazing that in spite of, because our daughter, when she went, she completed her education up to her bachelor's without any student debt at all. She had
Wow.
all of that taken. She did not have any. All of her peers had student loan to pay back. She did not have anything. And instead of applying some of those principles to her life, to me, she's doing. She just spending as if spending has no end at all. She's quite the opposite of us.
Yeah, because mom and dad got it all.
Yep.
You know, really quick, I know we're coming down to an end, and I know that we just have to do this again. What are some practical strategies that we could use to be able to just save? I'm just going to use that blanket statement, save.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, at church we try to start this class, and we want people to understand. You start with a budget, and the budget is really like a roadmap. It's a guide. It's a guide to tell you, okay, you have to know. When you ask people how much they spend on a month, most people they don't know.
Yep.
Because they have no idea. You need to write it down, and you're going to determine ahead of time that this is how much I'm going to spend. So you need to know your income and what your expenses are, and then you could figure out exactly, okay, this is what I'm making. But remember, this is not for evangelical Christian. This is not going to work. If you're not faithful to the Lord. David says, "From I've been young and now I'm old.
Never seen.
I've never seen the righteous forsaken or receive begging bread." It's a true statement. If you're faithful to the Lord said He will provide for needs. But you have to have a plan also. You got to have a plan. Plan means that you know how much you're making. You have to know where the money is going, and you have to determine this is where the money is going to go. So start at the basic: is preparing a budget.
So what if my wife? What if Miss Tat, everybody is his wife. They call her Sister Anderson. I call her Miss Tat. What if your spouse is not with you on it? Or is that another show?
Well, okay.
End of the month. Yeah.
The problem. So when you're married, then you have to change your pronoun. It's not just me, it's we. Which means that the budget, I don't just make the budget. We sit down, we have a discussion and say, this is what we would like to do. That way it works, because, research show that when a husband and a wife is on the same page and they work together, 1 + 1 is more than 2. It's powerful. The synergy that exists between both of you is to allow you to do more, because you're working together, you're on the same page, you have the same goal, and you're looking out for the best interest of each other. And when you work together, you'll accomplish a lot more. So it is not my money, or it is our money, and we sit down together each month and decide exactly. So we have a budget and we follow the budget. Time to time, we look back, we look on the budget, and then we say, maybe we could adjust here. You have a suggestion here. My wife may have a suggestion. I may have a suggestion. Let us look at it together. And both of us have to agree to go forward. So that's what we continue to do. So working together is powerful. It gives you an opportunity to talk about finance and to discuss that and to make sure that you're on the same page. So working together is important. Instead of my money, your money, is our money, and we work together in life.
Yeah. Amen.
Elder Andy, I want to thank you so much for hanging with us. I'd like to go around the horn, if we will, and you could close your ears, Elder Andy, just in case we're on the learning stage. But I'd like to start with Latasha, then Marlena, then Megs, GP, and then myself, which I have not that much to share. But I like what works for us. If you, Latasha, we want to start with you, or you rather start with me and go around. Matter of fact, we'll end with Latasha. Let's go around the horn this way. For me, I literally put it in an envelope. I have a safe that I keep everything in.
Like, don't point to where it is, Pat.
I'll be over there next Sunday just to kind of go through.
Yeah, got a safe where I keep it all in. All right, don't come in here because I have more than a dog.
We're not afraid of your cat. We're not afraid of your cat. The 20% really got me. I have to be honest with you at that. And I know that there's a lot more that I can do. But where I'm at right now, I do save, but I can save more. And I can put away a lot more, not for what I want, but just to be able to
have that emergency fund. Like.
Yeah. We have an emergency fund. Let me use the word we. We have an emergency fund. I'd like it to be more. I'd like it to be a whole lot more. But the savings side of it, I'd like it to be not just even for a rainy day or whatever. I just wanted to accumulate without me saying, oh, we have this month. Let's go ahead and buy a fridge, or let's go ahead and buy this or buy that. That's where where we are. And I'd like to be better at that.
Who's next? GP?
GP, we going around the horn back the other way.
I think we, for my family, I think that, we try to differentiate between needs and wants.
Okay.
So if you need it, we need to plan for it.
Okay.
But if we want it, it can wait. So if you want it, maybe you can have it after a certain time for a reward.
Mm-hmm.
And so the concept of having delayed gratification, you don't need to have it right now.
Right.
And it's not to say that you won't have it ever.
Right.
And I was feeling good about myself until he said that he and his wife went out to eat once a year. My family does that weekly. And I'm just like, okay, maybe we need to hunker down. Maybe we don't have to go out to eat once a week.
Gotcha.
I'm reflective and I'm thankful for this conversation. I'll just put it as that.
Me too.
Love it.
Skip me.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm on there.
He's rich, right? He's rich.
Listen, I had a come to Jesus moment a few times here. Just trying to hold it together. So, we began the year, my wife and I discussing, okay, we need to finally sit down and truly learn how to budget as adults, right? And one of the areas, we have a friend who's very similar to you, brother Andy, who they're serious about their budget. They have like 4 kids, young kids. And I asked my brother, I was like, hey man, how much you spend on food? I know that food bill has to be higher than my wife and I. He said $100 a week.
Wow.
For a family of 6. And them kids aren't missing any meals. Okay.
Wow.
And they're creative. They have to get creative in how they're handling their money and discipline. And they're on that debt relief Dave Ramsey program as well. And so I knew we had to deal with some stuff. Now there's the one side of it is the money, right? The numbers, the actual hard numbers. But the human behavior is the other side of it that we got to deal with. There's some stuff in my garage right now that I purchased during COVID that I barely use today, right? And we talk about compulsive behavior. I think I have a different kind of issue. It's never a quick decision. I will look at something and I'm hyper focused on this thing and I have 1,000 reasons why I need to buy it.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't feel compulsive. It's not, I just woke up one day and decided. No, there's a justification. And then 3 months later, it's in my garage. So
Can we just move on to the next person before somebody does an altar call?
1,000 reasons worked out, right?
So there's that human behavior element,
It's true.
staying on the path, finding ways to remind myself, here's where we're going, here's the end goal, here's the we're going to sacrifice now to enjoy a little bit more later on.
Yeah.
And so thank you for this conversation. I need to go in my prayer closet.
Repent.
Yeah.
Sell those items in that garage, Miguel. Sell them.
There will be a garage sale soon.
Man, gonna be on Facebook Marketplace. Like, me too. Me too.
All right.
Well, I can say, Elder Andy, I went through Dave Ramsey Financial Peace, well educated, know everything to do, and I'm terrible with making a budget. Sometimes I write it all out, and I don't eat out a lot. Maybe I like Whopper Wednesday, so I get my Impossible Whopper on Wednesdays. And
okay.
yes, every Wednesday, and
You can make that with the griller at home.
I don't even buy a lot of clothing, but and I do save some, but it's not as much as I should. And I give a lot. Like we had our young adult night Saturday. Every first Saturday we have our young adult ministry, so we hang out on Saturday nights. I know you wonder why am I in that group, in my 50s, but
it's a 50+ merge.
They were slow forming. Is my vision? God gave me the vision. They slow forming, so I had to become a part to make sure it works out. But I think I just have to be disciplined to my budget, and then all will be well, because I can still give and help, those who can't make it, and still do well. So that's where I am. I must budget consistently. And once one emergency comes, your savings go down, so you got to replenish, right? So it's the replenishment error sometimes I have. So I know what my issue is, but I really have to be disciplined, and I like that you said.
Yeah, we're just gonna have our UpSet podcast prayer closet. We'll just meet once a week.
Listen, I'm sorry to jump in, but Marlena, when you talked about charitable giving, what you give to ministry, Miguel, if you want to donate your cameras or lenses to my church, no, I'm serious. You can get an in-kind letter, a receipt of the value of that, and it's a tax write-off.
Listen,
that's a good point there.
That's the one COVID purchase that's not going to be a part of the garage sale.
All right.
You tried though, GP.
Yeah, good move.
Effort. And I would say the thing that's worked the best for me in terms of saving has been to automate my savings. I think when I don't have to think about it and it's just coming out automatically, it's so much easier to do it. I mean, of course, I automate a lot of my bills as well, but automating it along with the bills so that I can't talk myself out of it every pay period has really helped me be consistent and disciplined. And I think for me, that's the number one thing that has helped me
show off. Go ahead.
No, it's so simple to do. And you won't miss it. After a while, it's become such a part of how you budget it that you won't even miss it. It's just a way of life. And so
then you have to be disciplined not to use it, right?
Right. And so, yeah, I definitely recommend putting the savings and particularly like an emergency fund. Of course, you want a high yield savings account. That's where you get a little bit more interest than what you would get at your local bank. But with that, it takes a couple of days maybe for you to get it. So it discourages you from that quick transfer from the savings and checking, you do when it's attached to your bank. And so that really helps. And then of course, even with, I know a lot of people don't even contribute to, I forgot what the figure was, to their 401ks and their 403bs and stuff like that. Like guys, like take advantage of that, particularly if you have a match.
Match, yeah.
Like, come
Free
on,
money.
that's like
We
free
have a match with
money.
AEC.
Free money. Free
We
We have
money.
a
don't have a match because we have more of a pension type of retirement account.
Yeah.
But we do have a 403B where you can still, as a nonprofit organization, we can still put away. It's just
Right.
not matched, but it can.
I was
it
just
can
asking
grow.
if it was match. Yeah.
But that's also a good way because it's tax deferred. So, you know, the more you're saving, the less you're paying in taxes, but you benefit in the end because you won't be taxed on it. So, but yeah, that's just what I do. But it was great kind of hearing the different strategies and where everyone is. I think it's great for us to be honest with where we are and where we need to go. And Elder Andy, thank you so much for sharing with us. You're a success story.
Thank you for allowing me to join you. You know, it seems as if you guys whose idea was this? Is it yours, Tasha? You seem to be having a lot of fun.
I am, but it wasn't my idea.
Okay.
I just love this stuff. I just, you know, especially for our community, I just want to see us do better. There's no reason why we shouldn't be flourishing. And like you said, Elder Andy, when we flourish as individuals, the churches we belong to flourish, and then the communities we serve flourish, and then we can just.
And I also heard that at Glenridge, the finance committees decided to give me more money so that is that right, Elder Andy?
When did you get that information?
Where did I get the information?
Was that information leaked to you?
We may need to talk to Treasurer and get Elder Andy to train the other church treasurers. Listening to the success story from your church, that's amazing.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah, great. Thanks again. I'm gonna throw this back over to producer. If you take us all out, thanks, Elder Andy. I really appreciate it. Thanks for your time. I know you're gonna go back to the other job, but thanks for hanging with us today. Really appreciate it
so much.
Yes, thank you, sir. Excellent information.
Thank you.
Yes. And everyone out there, we know we weren't live today, but we're hoping that in the chat, you're talking about your savings goals and the areas where you need to do better. We're in this together. Let's hold each other accountable. But thank you once again, Elder Andy, for taking the time to share with us. We learned a lot, and we look forward to being able to report to you how better we.
No, we're not.
I think we have to have once a month come to Jesus moment. How much did you save this month? Put something in.
We can create some type of savings challenge. That is another motivator.
Yes.
People working with you to do it. So maybe we'll think about that this month.
That's good.
All right, take us to the bridge.
All right, guys. We'll see you back here next Sunday, same time, same place, because if it's Sunday,
it's the
time to pull
UpSet
out your budget.
It's time to pull out your budget. And
time to save.
All right, guys.
It's the UpSet podcast.
And saving, just save at least $1. Somebody, just $1. Let's
go to $10. $10.
All right,
Marlena, easy.
Is there one?
Next week we're going to compound like that penny.
I asked for 10 souls where you asked for one. Oh my goodness.
All right, on that
note. Just one.
Have a great week, everyone.
Bless you.